Hi there, it's Karen Baker back with another video for Tonic Craft Kit, this time number 17. Now this kit for this month is all about spring and flowers, and you've got some absolutely gorgeous dies which make perfect frames and lots of other things. You've got dies to show sentiments, so you've got anniversary, retirement, birthday, and you've got obviously all the extras, which some of those we'll talk about in the video, but I'm going to show you how to make this floating bee card. Okay, I know it's kind of hard to see, but you can just about work out that these bees are actually flying off the card. It's a really easy idea. I'm actually only using a couple of the images from the stamp set, which is this one here. But this could be translated into lots of other images that you may have if you've got butterflies or you've got little cute characters. I'm just going to show you the way of creating things that actually fly off the card. So rather than sticking to the area that you would normally stick to, try taking your images away from the main focus and make a really interesting, unique card. So let's get started. To make the card, we need to start off by creating the beehive shape, and I've just used some of the cardstock that comes in the shape, which is this beautiful yellow colour. Now all I've done is created a shape. I've done it on the back, so I've not used the textured side. I've just created this sort of a shape. If you have any oval dies, you could do this really easily by just literally putting an oval die or part of a large circle and running a pencil around the top. And then all I've done is drawn it out like this, so it's getting slightly bigger, so you're aiming for a slight dome shape, and then cutting it out. Once you've cut it out, you're going to end up with the shape. So the shape will look a little bit like this. Now, don't worry about getting everything precise. If you are struggling, you can easily look online for shapes to trace around, but it's not supposed to be perfect. And I've done it in a way that's not perfect on purpose. Or that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And to create those lines, I've just simply used the Mango Mimosa Aquaflow pen. This you didn't get in the kit, but if you haven't got this set, which I really recommend, I use this ever such a lot, just a yellow marker, felt tip, whatever you've got. So we've just created the lines like that. Now, in preparation, we need a base, because obviously this needs to stand on something. So I've just got a card blank, and I just need my card blank to be a little bit smaller. You're aiming for your fold line at the top, because that's going to give the strength where you need it at the top, and it will also help hide the little bits of the bees flying out that we're going to put in a minute. So all you need to do is take your pencil or a pen, and I've just drawn around the edges here. So just draw around either side, and then we're just going to cut slightly before the lines so that we can't see it sticking out. And you don't have to do the most super neat job because it's going to be hidden anyway, as long as both sides are hidden by the front of the beehive. Okay, so we've got that there. We just line it up and we're good to go with that. Now onto the bees. The set we get with the craft kit has these stamps in. I'll hold them there so you can see them. The bees are lovely, and that's what gave me the idea for creating the card. Now you could just simply stamp them onto white card, or you could use some of the elements that you get free with the kit this time. So you get with the kit this embellishment mousse, and this one is custard cream, which immediately makes me hungry and wants a cup of tea. So this, and also you get a set of the Nuvo hybrid inks. Now this one, Rubber Duck, is the perfect colour as well for bees. Now both of these you can use to actually colour your cardstock. You get a Dauber in with a kit, which you can use to apply the hybrid ink, and I've just used a spatula to put it onto cardstock. So if you just, when you take these off, the best thing to do is always keep this foil lid, because when you put it back and put the lid on, that just gives it extra protection and will make your mousses last much, much longer. So don't put your, as I'm trying to do now, I'm going to end up my fingers in it. Don't put your fingers in it. Get something to actually remove the mousse and to just spread them. I just tend to use a spatula, or you can use a credit card, and if you put a very thin layer on a piece of cardstock and let it dry, it creates a beautiful pearlescent finish. So if I show you some of the bees that I've made and compare the two of them, there we are. Let's see if you can see. So this side here, which you can probably just see, there you are, can you see the pearlescent finish? That was used by stamping on top of the embellishment mousse. This one here, I just use the Dauber that you get here to lightly apply in circular motion, really light. You can always add more ink, but you can never take it off. And that's how I created the yellows for this. So you can actually use this to create the background for your bees, and they are a rather good match to the colour of the cardstock. So that's another way that you can use them in this project. Now, I decided after creating these that I wanted more of a contrast. I wanted the wings to be white so that I could add more colour to them. So all I did was stamp them out onto some white cardstock. And then I coloured them in, again using my Aquaflow pen that I used to make the marks on the hive. So I've coloured them, and then you can either cut them out, or to make it much easier, Tonic have used the, provided the dies in the kit, so you can just die cut out both of those shapes. And then what you're going to end up with is little bees like this. So I've used this pen, which comes with the kit, and this is the True Turquoise. When you get it, it'll have a little yellowy band. Do remove that and then screw it back together again. And I've used that just to flick out to create the wings. And then I've coloured them in with the yellow, and then I've added the Nuvo drops that come with the kit. Now, the reason why this hasn't got its label, I've stuck its label on so I know that it's actually Yellow Bird, is because sometimes you might find them too hard to squeeze when they're little bottles. So if you remove the label and keep it somewhere safe so you know what colour it is, then you'll find it much easier to squirt the drops out of the little tiny container. So those are my basic bees. Okay, now in order to get them flying off, we need to actually attach them onto the acetate. Now you can get acetate from all over. Tonic do a particularly good strength of acetate, which is really good for creating boxes and card bases and all sorts of things. So all I've done is I've popped a few on, and all you need to do is just cut a slither of acetate. I know it's going to be hard to see that. Let me just pop that on there. There we go. So I've just cut some little slithers of acetate, put a bit of strong double-sided tape on, and then all we need to do is add our little bee to the top. If you think already about the direction that you're going to want to have the beads, obviously you can angle the acetate whichever way you want, but if you actually put it on at a slight angle to start with, there we go. So we're ready to construct the back. So in order to do this, what I have found easiest to do is actually to just put a little layer of double-sided tape on the back. Make sure it's low enough, because obviously here I've got this little part here which I don't want to see any adhesive. So just make sure it's low enough. So if I get some double-sided tape, and I'm just going to put a little layer on there. Now the great thing about acetate is when you're trying to position your little bees, the acetate is very forgiving when it's stuck onto this double-sided tape. So if you make a mistake, you can just peel it off, which you couldn't do if it was cardstock. So we're going to remove this bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work from this side because I want to see the effect that I'm getting. So let's pick up my bees, which is easier said than done. So I'm just going to pop them on, and bear in mind we're going to go for more of a natural look. So we don't want to have the bees all looking uniform. We want to have some at different heights and at different angles. So this one here looks like it's flying into the hive. So we're going to put that there, get the next one. And try and have odd numbers. The eye, for as far as design is concerned, likes odd better than even. There we go. Let's see if we can put that on there. Okay, so we've got that one there. And let's go for one. Where should we pop it? I think here. And then one more off the side here. So you can play around with this. This one looks like it's about to leave. So there you go. So we've got them at different heights. You can obviously play around. And then once you've done that, you're going to want to take off the excess. Now, part of the reason for this is it's quite bulky, all stacked on top of each other. So if I just cut down just below the adhesive strip, get rid of those bits. Okay, so we've got that little bit there. Then ideally, I should have done it in the other order, which I haven't done, is I would recommend that when you create this card, you actually do the embossing before you actually stick it, either the bees or stick it to the cardstock. The reason being is that when we're doing heat embossing, there is a tendency, even if you're careful and you heat it a little bit below and a little bit above, sometimes the cardstock can warp a little. If you have it stuck onto your base card, sometimes the base card warps with it. So I always recommend that if you're going to do heat embossing, don't do it when it's stuck onto the base, because actually if you've got a straight base, that's going to help iron out any of the issues. So what we're going to do, I know it's still a bit sticky on the back, what I'll do is I'll just pop that on there. There we go. Do what I say, not what I do. Okay, so we've got that there. So we now can do our stamping. So before we position the rest of the bees, what we're going to do is do our stamped sentiment. So the stamped sentiment that comes with the set is this one here. I know it's hard to see. It says blooming fabulous. So we need to get our ink. You need to have a sticky type of ink. The clear mark that comes with the Nuvo range is perfect for heat embossing. So we're going to do is just gentle tapping. If you've never stamped before, it's not hard. I would recommend that you have a little go at doing this first before you actually stamp onto there. So I'm going to do my little bits. So it's very, very gentle pressing. It might look like I'm being hard with it, but I'm actually just tapping it very, very gently all over. If you want to know if you've got ink all over it, angle it slightly to the light and you should see an even layer of ink. Now, one of the ways of getting a really good result is actually to use some sort of an anti-static powder. Now you can get these very inexpensively. You can actually make your own with an old pair of tights and corn flour or talcum powder, but all you're going to do is you're going to tap all over this, and this puts a very fine layer of powder down, and what that means is that it's less likely to pick up marks and less likely for the powder to stick onto it, because we've all had that nightmare where we've done our heat embossing and you get little flecks of embossing powder everywhere. Now, in some respects, it doesn't matter. It just adds to the texture of it. But if you're wanting a perfect result, get yourself an anti-static powder or have a go at making your own. Now, because I've let this sit a little bit, even though I know it hasn't dried, let's just pop a little bit more on. And then we're just going to position this where we want it. So I'm just going to pop, actually I'm going to pop it down. The reason I'm going to pop it down is because I've already stamped. If I try and stamp, I've just got those extra bulky layers, which is going to make it more challenging for me to get a good result. So I'm going to move it down a little bit. Just check that I've got it roughly straight. Okay, and then we're just going to press down, and we're not going to take one hand off, just pressing all over. If you want to use a stamp positioning tool, then do that too. Okay, so we've got that there. I know you can't see anything, it is clear ink. So all we need to do now is get something to catch the stray embossing powder in, and I've chosen gold. So I'm just going to sprinkle. Okay. Just make sure it's all over. Tap it off, and if you do get the odd occasional bits of spray powder, just give it a tap. You can either use a paintbrush or your fingers. So I'm going to heat that up now, and we're going to see the lovely shiny metallic finish. So there's our finished image. Absolutely gorgeous. The magic of heat embossing is always brilliant, no matter how many times you've done it. So all we need to do now is stick this onto our base card and then add the final little butterflies. So let's pop a bit of glue. So I'm just going to pop this all over the card. Take that off, and then we're going to position it. There we go. Okay, so we've got our card sorted. You can see there, you just have to really smooth it down because it will warp slightly. Okay, now you can see here, I've got a little dint where I've got those two bits of acetate together. So the perfect way of hiding that is to use some of the other bees. So let me just get my other little bees. So you can always fix mistakes and just pretend that they're part of the design. Just got these on, let's put one going that way. They're on foam pads, so they're just adding a little bit of height too. Okay, now I know we said using odd numbers, and I've actually only got 8, but because those are in one block there more or less, and these are another, I'm going to stick with that because that looks how I would like it to. Now you could put all sorts of things on here. You could put little dots, use your Nuvo drops. I think this would actually be quite pretty to put little Nuvo drops all over. Because if you use it for the trail of the bees, now you've actually got a bee trail stamp as part of your kit. So if you wanted to go further with this, you could put the bee trails in your card as well, which would look really, really pretty. So I hope you enjoyed this quick card. Obviously you can do loads more with the kit. I've just concentrated on 2 of the stamped images, or 3 if you include the sentiment. Don't forget to show us what you've all been up to. Do tag Tonic or go onto our Facebook page, the Tonic Facebook group, and show us what you've been making. We love to see. And the kit is available in the link below. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.